So, good afternoon.
It had been the big question at Queen's Park over the past month or so. Where was Dr. Moore? Up until yesterday, the Chief Medical Officer of Health hadn't spoken to Ontarians in almost 5 weeks. Last Wednesday, Premier Ford was asked about Dr. Moore's whereabouts.
He is on the job 24/7, looking at the figures, looking at the stats, and giving myself and our cabinet advice.
In fact, CityNews has learned that Ontario's top doctor was at that moment, in fact, on vacation in the Dominican Republic.
Why do people not get the information they need from this government and instead wonder what's really going on?
While Dr. Moore was away, we had an acting Chief Medical Officer of Health in Dr. Murdy, as well as 5 Assistant Medical Officers of Health who were closely following the situation in Ontario, and Dr. Moore was in regular contact with them.
Now, there's nothing illegal about what Dr. Moore did. There's no travel advisories preventing him or anyone from traveling to the Caribbean. But what opposition parties here at Queen's Park took issue with today was 2 things. The fact that the Chief Medical Officer of Health wasn't out communicating the COVID situation to Ontarians last week, and the fact that the Premier wasn't forthright about where Dr. Moore was.
The issue is the Premier claimed that he had held that Dr. Moore had held a meeting with the Chief Medical Officers of Health.
Yesterday, he had a meeting with all public health officers throughout the province.
We know from Dr. Hirji in Niagara that he was not invited to such a meeting, so that leads to the question. Was the Premier being honest, or was he just talking out of his hat again, making stuff up on the fly?
Dr. Moore returned from his trip on Saturday and addressed the media on Monday, declaring the 6th wave of the virus, days after other epidemiologists indicated cases were likely hitting a record high. Do you think there was a need for the Chief Medical Officer of Health to be in front of Ontarians last week?
Last week, the week before, the week before that, the week before that. I think the whole idea of not doing briefings, it was wrong. There is a vacuum of leadership. People are looking to the Medical Officer of Health, as they have for 2 years, for advice, for confidence going forward.
There was one other potential issue with Moore's trip. Federal law states travelers returning home to Canada from an international destination must wear a mask in public for 14 days. Moore, having been back just 2 days, took his mask off at Monday's news conference. A statement from Ministry of Health officials says, quote, Dr. Moore was seated alone, more than 6 feet apart from anyone else, and put his mask back on immediately after the press conference. Prior to Dr. Moore's appearance on Monday at Queen's Park, we hadn't seen him in almost 5 weeks. CityNews repeatedly asked for an interview, but was turned down by the health minister's office every time. At Queen's Park, Richard Southern, CityNews.